selection show with me, Martha Inspires. We are about to look at temperament. Why are temperament so important for us to learn about? And sometimes we don't even pay attention to that. I'm here again with Madam Grace Ifialabi. She was on the show last week looking at the whole concept of love and all of that. I've also been joined by Reverend Samson Abukari. He's also a counselor. He has a long profile. I'm just going to read something a brief from the profile. He's a relationship coach, the country director for Unite for Africa, Ghana, a business consultant for online and multi-level marketing, a master ebook creator, and a former president for the Ghana International Baptist Convention. He has a wide range of food supplements or products. He's been married for 19 years. He has 3 biological kids and 3 adopted kids. I just said this is like a small one, and also founder of Watch What You Eat Foundation, among many others. Maybe along the line he'll be telling us more of what he does. But I like the 19 years bit. 19 years ago, how was I? I was very small, I was very little. But I'm so privileged that today I'm sitting with you to learn from your wide range of wisdom and all of that. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
We want to look at temperament. What is temperament all about? Let me start with you.
Okay. I'm so delighted to be here today, and I would say that I've watched you on a distance, and just like your name, I feel inspired anytime I follow through your reflective sessions. Temperaments are things that are very important for every human being, and it's important that we get interested in knowing what temperaments are and why we as a people must be interested in it. Now when we talk about temperament, we are looking at the inborn traits that each one of us come into this world with. Whether you are a man or you are a woman, each one of us has some peculiar traits that we come with. And that is what form the temperament of every individual.
Okay. Temperament. What do you understand by temperament?
Yeah, so like Reverend has said, temperaments are inborn traits, and there are several of them. Most people are familiar with 4, but there's a 5th one. So I'm sure Reverend knows that, and we'll talk about it. That dealing with that 5th one is quite subtle. So I'm sure Reverend knows much and would also talk about it. But basically, we're looking at the melancholy. We're looking at the sanguine. We're looking at the choleric. We are looking at which are the supine is the 5th one that most people don't know. Supine. Then we're looking at the choleric, and all of them have peculiar way in which they behave in and out of season. And all the temperaments have their positives and their negatives. But it seems that most people, till we are schooled in the strength and weaknesses of the temperament, we tend to live in the weaknesses of the temperament. So basically that's what I'll say for now about temperament.
Okay. So I wanted to take the temperaments one by one. Let me start with you, Reverend. Starting from my temperament. From the sanguine. Okay, some say that I have the choleric traits. So that's why maybe I'm able to be assertive, I'm able to be like a leader, to be like somebody that wants to really achieve. But I think my primary temperament is a sanguine. So take us through the sanguine temperament.
Yeah, so like you have said, because these are traits that we come with, no individual has just one. And I like the way you have mentioned primary. So every individual has the primary temperament that the person mostly is seen with. But beside that one, you have other things in the life of the person that pertains to the other forms of temperaments that we have. Now, if you look at the sanguine type of temperament, most people will just classify it as the outgoing personality. Now, I need to step a little back and say that when we hear personality, sometimes people think that personality is the same as temperament, but that is not so. Temperament is just a part or a portion of the personality of an individual. So when you look at every individual, especially the sanguine, most people will just say that they are the outgoing type of persons. But it's important for us to look at the life of the sanguine very closely. Now, there are some key things pertaining to the sanguine. They are very optimistic in life. They are friendly. They are compassionate. If you are looking for a compassionate person, then look for a sanguine. And because we are talking about relationship, that is why they are the type that can easily befriend people. When they step into a new environment, it's like they have lived there for a longer time, but they are just showing up. But because of that temperament that they have, when they appear in any setting, they become familiarized with everybody and everything in the place, and that is who they are. In as much as this will be something that one would like to enjoy and have, like Sister Efia said, there are some weaknesses of the sanguine. And some people will talk about the mood swings. The sanguine is mostly affected when it comes to mood swings because of the kind of, the way they easily move with emotions. So you see the person in one breath, this is what is happening, and just listening to one particular news changes the mood of the person all of a sudden. But they are quick to overcome anything that looks negative, and you see them coming back to excitement. So that is the sanguine temperament.
Sanguines, we are very lively people, and you have to marry a sanguine. So, Mommy, sanguines, what can you add up to the sanguine?
So again, like he said, one of the negatives of the sanguine, and I'm saying that in quotes, flirtatious. So it comes with the environment. So you see that for someone to be a very good marketer, if you check the traits, they are sanguines. Because it's just easy, like a butterfly. It's all over. But like he said, as soon as, and because they easily adapt to an environment, environment easily affects them. So the sanguine can be the party, like you said, they show up. The life of the party, that's just about it. And so people are surprised that, oh, but we were at a party together, and then the next thing said the person has committed suicide. Sometimes by the time you are checking the background, you'll be surprised.
Sanguines can be depressed and nobody will know that they are depressed.
Exactly. By the time you are checking the background, it's a sanguine. So yes, sanguines are excellent people to be around with, but sanguines can easily also be real down low, that if you have a friend who's a sanguine, trust you me, you should be able to read behind and beyond that facade and the smile, and be able to reach out to them.
Sometimes we also talk a lot, unfortunately.
It's part of the life.
Now let's look at the choleric temperament. Reverend.
So the choleric temperament, we will say that is the type of people who are very strong-willed. And like you mentioned earlier, they become very good leaders, very assertive, and they are the type who are very confident in what they are convinced to do. And they are the type that will classify as goal-getters, because when he is determined to do something, it's like nothing can stop him. And sometimes he doesn't have the time to look at the pros and cons of what he has decided to do. He will just say that this is what we are doing.
We are risk
so
takers.
so everyone that is around him, if they don't understand him, then he will always have problem with everybody, because this is what I have decided, this is what we are doing, and no question about it. So he, most of the time, he's not open to other people's opinions. What I have decided, and that is it.
Wow. But do they have some strengths?
Yeah, they do. Like I mentioned, when you have them as leaders,
it helps.
They will take you to be able to achieve the goals that you have set for yourself, either as an organization or as a family. They will help you to be able to push to get all those goals come to pass. And that is one strong advantage of the choleric trait. Now, the other thing has to do with they having that confidence. So if you have someone who has the temperament of a choleric, the person is always confident that this thing will succeed, this thing will work, this thing will happen. And because of that, they are able to carry themselves and carry other people along what they are convinced to do.
Okay. I mean, anything to add up?
Yeah, so because of that, sometimes the choleric is more often misunderstood easily. So if you do not, especially if the person is not in a leadership position, the possibility of, you know, fighting them, especially in the work environment, often is there because nobody seeks to understand them. But because they are, it's like what you haven't seen, they have seen like 100 miles ahead, and they just want to get there. But you are probably just seeing the peripherals, and you want to also take it slow.
And if you are their leader, you think they want your position because it's like they usually want to go few steps ahead of you, especially if it's a phlegmatic who is a leader, and you have a choleric who is your subordinate. It's a serious thing.
You're in trouble. So basically, for me to add on to the choleric, I'll say that it is best when we have them in our space to harness their positives.
Settings,
Don't forget that because of the way their positive are, it tends sometimes also to be like they are negative, especially if we do not understand them, we around. So it is important we harness. I remember sometime not too long ago, but I had to actually have a real lengthy chat with someone who was a choleric. I was going to get married. And there's a man, and I said, Jude, let me tell you something. I understand you. That's the working environment. Don't be so much of it when you marry. If your wife doesn't understand you, help her understand you. Then you both move on. Other than that, there'll always be that tension. Especially if it's someone who also doesn't necessarily understand how temperament work. So it is very important that they are good, but they need that kind of balancing and guidance.
And they don't listen to second opinions. It's like as soon as they say we are doing this, even if you also want to agree but want to say something, they feel that their method is the best.
You know, you are going.
Yes.
You're going, and there really is no stopping, no break. That is it. And they are very good if they also want to impart knowledge because they are confident in what they do. So you see that they are good teachers. They are very good teachers, and they have the patience to be teachers. So again, when you bring it to the relationship aspect, it helps because they are patient to help you also understand what has to happen.
Okay, so I want us to go through the temperaments, and we'll now come to temperaments in the relationship and probably the parent. Now let's come to the melancholy.
The melancholy is a very good temperament in some dimensions.
Okay.
And when we are looking for people who are quiet but looking for perfect way of life, they are the ones that we look out for. And They are the type who will not want to do anything that somebody will look at it and say, oh, this place should have been this way. They want to have it in a perfect manner. Now, we are told that they are the type who have a very good IQ. And they are good listeners. But like we are looking at each of them, in as much as we have positives for each of these temperaments, there are negatives that go with it. Now, as someone who is looking for perfection, we know that in this our life, it will be very difficult for you to have everything in in a perfect shape. So because of that, most of the time they don't tend to be happy because they are not always satisfied with their performance. They are not satisfied with the performance of those that they are leading. So all the time they look frustrated in a way because what they are looking forward to see, that's not what they are seeing. And it keeps them in a manner that health-wise might not be good for them. And in other dimensions when it comes to life and relationship. So that is what
melancholy.
Yeah. So again, when you look at the melancholy, by nature of their perfectionism, again, that in a sense become a weakness.
Yeah.
They can be difficult people to live with because till you hit till it is, you know, exact
The way it's like when they put something here, they want it to be. You can't shift it.
So let me tell you. Let me give you a funny scenario there. That is the kind of person my dad is. He has that trait. And I used to tidy his room and his wardrobe. Sometimes I don't know what I was even looking for. I'm curious and I'll go and move, you know, things. When I moved it, then this is it. And in putting down that, I mean, this is the same place, right?
Yeah.
I'm not even conscious of
it. Yeah.
He comes, he opens his wardrobe, and then he calls me. Did you come into my wardrobe today? I'm like,
how did you know?
Yes, I came, but how did you? Then he would laugh. So I think there was the day I actually got to ask him, can you tell me? He says, but when you come, you move my things. I said, no, I haven't moved it. I only clean and put it back. Then one day we had to do precision. He says, you see this one, I have done it this way and this is that way and that.
Wow.
That is how difficult they can be with. So you have to, if you pick something and it was here, you have to make sure it is in the exact same place. So for them, if you have them again in your environment, trust, you have orderliness, you have cleanliness and all of that. But at some point, they do it to their own detriment. So then in the long run, they may get a perfect environment, but one small thing doesn't make them happy.
Yeah.
So they are also the type that can easily sink into depression as well.
Imagine you have a man who is a melancholy. There's nothing you will sweep in the house that he feels like you've kept the house clean. Now let's go to the last temperament. This temperament, I hope somebody is watching this. Phlegmatics. Who are they?
The phlegmatic have some likeness when it with the melancholy. But there's some bit of differences. Like we have just talked about the melancholy. These ones are looking for efficiency in whatever they do. And they are the type who will plan whatever they are doing. So like she was talking about the melancholy, that in that dimension, these ones, when you come and you see their table, you will know this particular desk belongs to somebody who has this type of temperament. Because there's order in everything that
they do.
So the phlegmatic will not want to be searching for a document and it will take him several hours to get it. He wants, when he appears, he knows this particular one, I kept it here. this other one can be
Kept
found
it,
here.
yeah.
So he's able to plan his life in such a way that at every point in time, he's very efficient in everything that he does. That is who they are.
Phlegmatics.
That notwithstanding, they have a very slow,
Very
lackadaisical attitude to everything in life. So probably that also feeds into their efficiencies, because if everything is, you know, in order and set, then I don't have to spend extra energy, extra time doing something I don't want to be doing. But other than that, it can be a bit difficult also dealing with a phlegmatic, because they are so laid back. So laid back, it's not funny.
Yep.
But the strong point you have is they being efficient.
Yep.
So again, yes, they are. You can have them for efficiency, but you have to get ready to deal with all.
You'd have to probably always make all the moves.
Yes. Remind them.
Remind, push, remind, push, remind, push. Even sometimes when you've done the reminding and the push, it's not a guarantee.
Yep.
Yes.
It's getting interesting here. We've come to understand the different kinds of temperament. I want us to go for a break. When we come back, we are trying to see the different kinds of temperament in relationships. Can a choleric marry a choleric? We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Books by Pastor A.L. Fant. They are inspired by the Holy Spirit, simple to comprehend, relevant in application, and so lovely to read. Grab copies like Dynamics of Kingdom Influence, Dynamics of Ministry, Mark is King for Church Workers, Money Matters, and she calls herself a woman. This marriage must work. No more curses. Loaded mouth. Secrets of Kingdom Dominion. The exploits of service. Things fall apart. Church without bleeding pulpit. Singles mingle, and many more.
You're saying something? I believe that by now you have an idea about who you are, and you probably are listening. You're like, oh, am I one? Am I two? No, you should have more than one kind of temperament. It's not possible that you just have one. Some even have a little bit of here and there. Yeah. I know I'm a sanguine and I have a little bit trait of a choleric. I'm nowhere near phlegmatic. I'm nowhere near phlegmatic. Melancholy, I don't even think so. But I know that sometimes when I remember when you were making the thing about the mood thing, I was just laughing because there are times we are on set and I'm so hyper, something happens and I'm just, oh, what is, my heart is beating, then one moment and I'm good to go. So sometimes it happens, and sometimes I can get so angry and I'm like, no, I want this. Why didn't this happen at this time? And I'm like, I want this to go. And being a woman, sometimes it can be at a disadvantage place where people think you are too knowing or you want to be too confident. But that's how I was born. So let's get into the context of marriage and temperament. as a sanguine, I'm being biased, I'm in the host on the host seat as a sanguine, what is the best temperament that probably I should get married to? Let me start with mommy.
For me, I would say there's necessarily not a best temperament.
Okay.
Because don't forget that sanguine is domineering.
Okay.
But you have other traits.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, people will try to do the pairing because the argument is that if I'm a sanguine and I'm all outgoing, I'm likely to be attracted to the phleg or a melancholic or that kind of thing. But it doesn't always happen like that. So for me, it is more of knowing the person as they are rather than knowing just their temperament. Knowing the temperament is good. But that is just like he said at the beginning, it's just a portion of the personality. There are other things. The advantage of knowing the temperament is that when the person is in their elements, in the whatever, you know what has happened. You don't really, bother so much. That is one. Or based on that, they are putting up a certain national reaction. You just know how to, when to give them space and when not to, when to be in their space. Basically, it. So for me, that is all about it.
Okay. So let me put the question this way: what are some of the things you should expect if you are married to a sanguine or dating a sanguine? What are some of the things you should expect if you are not? Hey, but if you have two sanguines getting married, hey, that would be so interesting, right? What are some of the things to expect when you are dating or married to a sanguine?
Okay, before I talk about the things to expect, I just want to add to what she has said.
Okay.
There's nothing like this is the best.
Okay.
Especially when it comes to relationship. We all have what attracts us into a relationship. So that should be the key. What is it that is attracting me into this particular relationship? But we are saying that in as much as those attractions are there, you must take that step to study your partner or the one that you are going to go out with and actually understand the temperament so that you know when the person is behaving this way, you understand the reason why the person is behaving that way. So that you don't respond in a manner that will ruin your relationship. So that is why it's important. So when you are going to marry or date someone, what we will say is that, one, look at what is it that is attracting the two of us. Then you move in to look at what are the things that I need to understand about this new partner that I am going to start a relationship with. And when you understand those things, it helps you to be able to respond. Because the temperaments that we are talking about all deal with how we respond to issues that happen to us. So when you understand your partner, it helps you to be able to respond in a manner that will not cause distraction in the relationship. And those are the things that you need to look out for.
Wow. So, but let's look at, let me say, the easygoing. So not a perfect temperament pairing, but which one can be easygoing? So if we have a sanguine and a sanguine, can they all be easygoing? Or this one will leave the house, so also leave the house, then leave their children, because this one have gone to party, this one has gone to party, and the children are there. If we have a choleric, they all end up shouting on top of their voices, and this one will say, we must do this. One will say, we must do this. If you have a phleg and a phleg, they will never go out for a date. Because this one will schedule, this one will cancel, this one will schedule again. And if it's a melancholy, maybe it can be better in the sense that everybody wants things to be done, but it can be a problem if they all have different parts of how things should be done. Then that can. But what are some of the easygoing kind of pairing temperaments?
Okay.
So, for me, I feel like a sanguine, because they are outgoing, could always go with the phleg. Because the phleg in themselves are efficient. All they need is that push. The sanguine has it all together, outgoing. So once they're paired together, it is very easy for them to move. And when the flag is being all, whatever, the sanguine doesn't want to go, oh, yeah. And I have seen quite a number of those kind of pairings. Yeah. But again, it will take time. It didn't also make it an easy relationship.
Yeah, it won't be.
It didn't make it an easy relationship because, like you said, the sanguine was all out there in her space. The flag wouldn't even move.
Yeah.
Not to talk of, we're going here. Even if she wants to go, yes, she would go, but not so much of the bubbly excitement that you have. So she may tow because, okay, it's my duty as a wife, I'm towing. Yeah. It takes a lot.
And as flags is reserved, the sanguine will get to an occasion, it wants to greet everyone. But the flag gets there, I'm there, but I want to be hidden.
So it takes time to draw such a person out. That is why your circle of social, friends, and if you get to know, getting used to the people also helps. So as for flag and sanguine, yes, you can match them.
Yeah.
You can also match melancholy with sanguine. As for sanguine, everybody can go with sanguine.
Yeah, we can go with anyone. It's like black group AA. You can go with anyone.
But even then, I heard you give that example of the choleric and the choleric. They can go together.
Yeah. Choleric.
They can go together. Like you said, they would need to understand each other. And for them, it means they have to have a lot of
counseling,
conversations and discussions so that, okay, this is it. Yeah, as for the rubbing, there'll be a lot of it because everybody wants to establish dominance. But if we all understand our place in there, it wouldn't be so much of a problem. It could be a very good marriage.
And I think with the flex and sanguine, it can be a bit easier because when you, the sanguine, want to talk, the flex just looking at you. He doesn't even care. So there is no way for you to even argue. He just look at you and say, I'm sorry.
So I think one thing that can help us is just for us to understand that the sanguine and the choleric, they have some similarities. The two look outgoing.
Yeah.
Then the melancholy and the phlegmatic are also the reserved type. So when we understand it that way, pairing becomes much more easier. But it's good to understand that, like we have said earlier, there's nothing like this is the best. And because each of them has some secondary traits, mostly the secondary traits come in to help, especially when the two look much alike.
Yeah, okay.
If the secondary come to play, it helps them to make the bonding much more beautiful.
I want us to quickly look at the fifth one that we've mentioned. Let's throw more light to it. It's what?
The supine.
Okay, what is that one? Supine.
So the supine is to make it easy to understand, more like servanthood, humility.
Okay.
Let's say that. So that is the supine for you. They are as humble as ever. They are ready to serve, go all out and serve and everything. They may seem not to care. Let me use my words carefully here. They may seem
not to care
even when you have not appreciated them. But the sanguine can do you in at a time you least expect for lack of appreciation.
Because sanguines might not really care. They might just do because they just want to do it.
Because they want
but
to do it.
But we can pay back nicely.
But in the time you least expect, especially if you are the type who are not appreciative, and you don't know that is the temperament. Let me give you a clearer example. So the person has done cleaning, is cleaning. No, you haven't said anything. You're not saying anything. You don't have a problem. But the day you say, oh, you clean here, but this particular, you are in for trouble. Hell will break loose.
The sanguine will talk.
So they need You need to know how to live with them, utilize what they love, and you know they are happy when they are doing all of that. So it's okay, but you have to be conscious and appreciating them. You can want to appreciate and give the sanguine money and say, oh, thanks for doing this, and they would vehemently reject it and not take it. So you have to apply wisdom, find a different way of appreciating them and letting them feel good. That is basically the supine for you.
Okay. Wow. We're still on the phleg and the melancholy.
Okay.
Then I think you also mentioned that choleric with each other being can manage.
Yes.
How about sanguine? Reverend.
It's very rare, but still possible. We talk about the possibility because the initial thing we talked about is what is it that is drawing the two together. So, like we've mentioned, probably the secondary temperament in one is what is drawing the other closer to the person. And that is why we are saying it's possible. But as they move together, there are some likely problems that might come up unless they actually study each other and are willing to give way for certain or make compromises so that they can actually have a perfect relationship. But without compromises, they will have problems.
You've mentioned compromise. Let me just chip in. I think for Christians and in the church setting, we are kind of lucky. Before you get married, you have to, my church has 3 months counseling, some is up to 6 months counseling, and temperaments are most of the important things that are handled. Now, let me just deviate a bit. Why is counseling important before we get married?
Wow.
Because I've known him for about a year or two. I want to get married. Is that not enough? Why should I have to? And some churches cry, they'll say you have to go for counseling every day or 2 or 3 times a week before you now get married. Some cry, they'll force us to go through the counseling. Why is counseling important, Reverend?
Counseling is an essential part of the preparation for marriage.
Okay.
Now, sometimes people think counseling is just for those who are yet to marry, but we have premarital and postmarital counseling.
Okay.
Now, every individual needs counseling. The reason is that we are human beings, and because we are human beings, there are some times when certain situations come our way. You need a second thought. You need a second idea to help you to be able to see your way through. And that is why counseling is very, very necessary. Now, you talked about, yes, we have been together for 1 year. Why is the need? Now, counseling is not just for a formality, but there are some key things that you are looking out for. We have instances where people have stayed even 2 years. But during the counseling, there are certain key questions that are asked. And those questions help them to understand each other much better than they thought they knew.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. So you have people that certain questions are asked, and the other partner has never mentioned that before. And the other has never heard it before. But it's through the counseling that those things are coming up. And as they come up, there are even instances where at the tail end of the counseling, they now see the reality. If the two of them are actually going to enter into a relationship, a married relationship, will it work? And the counselor leaves the answers to them, for them to decide whether they still want to.
Sometimes it's too late because by the time they are finishing their counseling, they've done their knocking. They've done the traditional marriage. They're only doing the counseling because the church says you must do it before you get married.
And that is that's why I say it's a mistake. Because I always say that premarital counseling is what should come. And it's at the tail end of premarital counseling that you take a decision. Okay, based on what we have seen, and what has transpired, we think will be a good
and I think that should be the way forward.
Yes, that is what it's supposed to be.
And for me, I usually even say that you should probably even start counseling before you even officially introduce yourselves to your parents.
Yes,
because the parents would always are happy that their son or their daughter wants to get married.
Yeah.
But I think that counseling should be done before you even go and say that, okay, mommy, daddy, this is the kind of person that I want to get married.
That's what it's supposed to be.
But why do you think most of us want to go through counseling?
So again, I think because we have tagged the counseling and attached it to the church.
Yep.
So that is where some of the challenges you just mentioned would come in. So that is a counselor. I'm a counselor. You don't need to see us necessarily in the church setting when you have planned that you're going to get married in that, I mean, that short time.
I get it.
No. So you have all the time and all the leeway. So that's why we will encourage people to use the counselors. You can use the counselors as well, like you're saying. So you do that. It gives you a better idea whether yes will be good to go or not. Then you can move on to now see your parents, do the what have you and all. Now the other thing is that ideally, even with the church counseling, we are supposed to do all of it before we even go ahead with the what we want to call the engagement, the traditional marriage. Now, for me, even if you do the knocking before, it's not much of a big deal because the knocking is just to officially let the family know that, okay, we both are together. Some families are interested in knowing that because they want to protect the interest of their children. So that is fine. But moving on to traditional. In Ghana, traditional, you have married.
Yeah, married. Or some, as soon as they start the counseling, 1 month into the counseling, they'll go and do traditional marriage.
But I've seen a lot of churches discourage that.
Yeah.
So I think that sometimes we, the young ones, in a hurry to, because we feel like we don't want anyone to stop us in the way.
Don't want anyone to snatch.
Then we rush to do those things.
Okay.
But it is important. That is why a lot of the churches would encourage that between your engagement even and the wedding, it should be so much time apart.
Yeah.
Because if you're done with counseling and you are sure this is the person, within a month maximum, you should be able to have had the engagement and then maybe maximum a month. Do your wedding.
Some people 1 week to their wedding, they are still rushing. They say, I have to go and meet my counselor. we are not done yet.
So we are rushing. That's the other part of it. Yeah.
Let's go for a break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We're still trying to understand temperaments, and I believe that so far the content is very educative, and you should encourage your friends and family to stay attentive to that. So now let's just have about 10 minutes to wrap up. What are some of the most important things that we should know in maybe character, personality, temperaments before we even say I do? Do you have to compromise on certain characters or some temperaments, or because this person is a phleg, the person is a sanguine, or you yourself, can you, because sanguine, sometimes we talk a lot. It's not everything you go and be saying in your marriage to other people. So what are some of the things we can also do for ourselves in our weaknesses, in our temperament, to build the marriage? Not just always saying the other party, but me, myself, what can I do to help myself, Reverend?
Yeah, so I think one thing we have not mentioned, which you will hear in the Christian cycles, has to do with the God-controlled temperament. Now, every human being, irrespective of what the weaknesses are in your life, I believe there can still be some change in your life. We have people who had struggled in life, probably at the initial stage of their marriage, but moving on, understanding each other, they turn out to be best in their environment, because they have decided, okay, I understand my partner, and these are the things that irritate him. These are the things that my wife will be angry about. So if I want her to be happy, then I don't need to do those things. So even though this is who I was, but because I want to have this kind of relationship, then I must change my life. I must pattern my life in this manner, so that the two of us can have a better life. And that is possible for anyone who actually wants their relationship to actually advance and become better. And I always say that when people say they are incompatible, it's just because each of them has taken a stand. I am not prepared to change.
To commit or
I am
to
not
change.
prepared to alter my life. I want to remain this way.
Mommy.
Yeah, so Reverend has hit it right on the nail, and that's just really it. Because, like I always say, the God factor in all that we do is key. So if the God factor is there, you realize that. I remember I even read that for the choleric, for instance, for all their hula baloo and you want this and that, if the choleric has an early, let me say, relationship with God, they are one of the best in the kingdom to work with.
Yes.
So you see that it is not all
negative
and all of that. Even at the negative, we can still work at it to make it positive. So for me, the God factor is key, the God control temper. So whichever weakness you have, if you commit it to God and you want to live in the strength and not the weaknesses, you will do just that.
And apart from committing to God, sometimes it's like we commit some things to God and it's like we're actually not even ready to even actually leave it to God. So I think in as much as you commit to God, you have to make a conscious effort. There are times that I'm in certain conversations with people and I'm like, okay, in my mind, I'm like, oh, Charlie, you are talking too much, calm down. So it's a conscious thing, because sometimes by the time you realize you've given us certain information that you're not supposed to give. So you have to be able to make yourself that I actually want to change or tone down on this. Then put it in prayer. Your final words, Reverend.
Yeah. So just to add that, there's this movie, Fireproof.
Yes.
Now, if you watch it very carefully, you think that these people, there's no way that there will ever be peace in their marriage. But if you look at how the dad explained to the son, he said, can you give me just 40 days and go with me on this journey for 40 days and we'll see what happens. Now, like you have mentioned, each of us, aside saying, God help me, there's that need for you to make that conscious commitment. Each day, these are the things that I want to do to make my partner happy. And that calls for sacrifice. And sacrifice is one of the attributes of the phlegmatic that we didn't mention about. Now, if you are able to make that sacrifice, you are able to go along and make your partner more happy and excited about the change that has begun to take place in your life. So I believe it's possible if we want to make a change.
It's possible if we want to make a change. Your final words.
So my final word will be that, again, yes, the God factor, and you make that conscious effort. So I think recently I found myself doing some introspection, and I was like, anytime I just pray, I said, oh, Holy Spirit, you know, I need to be gentle. I need that kind of gentle spirit. Sometimes I feel like I'm too...
all over the place.
You know, so sometimes I feel like I should be a bit calmer when I'm talking to people. They should not be afraid to come to me, that kind of thing. So having said that and having been praying about that, when I'm talking to people, especially in the office setting, please, I make that conscious effort. Oh, did I say this thing in this way that... So yes, it is possible.
Yeah.
We can live in the positives, and we can be the best that we can be, irrespective of our temperaments.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. I've learned a lot myself. I have been speaking with Reverend Samson Abukari. He's a counselor, and also Madam Ifia Labi. She's also a counselor. They've been helping us to understand what temperaments are all about and how we can make a conscious effort to live and relate with other people as well. And I think that even though it's on relationship, but we've been able to look at temperaments even at the workspace, temperaments in marriage, and even temperaments and how we can work with other people in general. My hair and makeup is by Endem's Beauty Salon here in Tamale. I am Martha Inspires. I'll be back with thoughts. Do stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Thoughts from Martha Inspires. Today, I want to talk to you about being conscious of yourself. We are usually so much quick to say the other person didn't talk to me well, the other person did this, or the other person did that, and all of that. We just finished talking about temperament, and we've looked at our strengths and our weaknesses. From now onwards, let's sometimes stop the blame game and say that the other person didn't do this all right. Sometimes take a step back and ask yourself, what could you have done better? What could you have done in another form? I have been able to probably understand people that I really work with sometimes, and I know their temperament. I know people who are pure cholerics. At first, I used to have issues with them. When they want to talk, they want this to be done. And because I have that choleric trait, it's a natural ego that wants to come. But I had to say, okay, when they talk, I've heard. Then maybe on a later day, I get time to sit with them and say, I think A, B, C can be done. But at that moment, you can't argue with a choleric, because the choleric feels that what I have said is it. I've met people who are flex. You schedule a meeting, an appointment, you be there, by the time you know, they've cancelled. You can't be angry with them because they want to be in their space. They've been home all day. For them to come out, hey, Tamale's son is hot. Let's make it another time. By the time you know, the appointment is cancelled. What can you do? You have to be patient. It doesn't mean you say, oh, this friend is not committed to friendship, so I cut the person off. That person might actually be someone that you really need for the next step in your journey. Be careful how you cut people off, because sometimes their temperament may not allow them to be the way they are supposed to be. So from now onwards, be a little bit patient. Ask yourself what you can do better to make that friendship work. Ask yourself how you can make that friendship grow and glow. It shouldn't always be, oh, my friend didn't do this, my friend didn't do that. What can you do better? And as sanguine, sometimes we're actually depressed, but we pretend over it. You come out and you are smiling. Everybody thinks everything is fine, but you are seriously depressed. So my friends out there, check on me more often. But I just want you to know that you can do better as friends. Don't always be quick to conclude. Don't be quick to judge, because we all need each other to survive. Thank you for watching. I am Martha Inspire. See you next week.